One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
I could tell we're going to have fun, Mel.
I know. Every time I see this guest's name in our upcoming meetings, I think this person, just by her last name, seems fun because it reminds me of Tom Foolery, even though that's not her last name.
That's not, or her first name.
No, none.
I love that.
What is your name, Tom Foolery?
My name is Lisa Woolery.
Close. So
I love
close.
tomfoolery, though. Yeah.
Do you ever
fun.
get that?
I never have, but let's get to some.
Oh,
Okay.
please.
Let's
just
do it.
get right into it. We're here for that.
Tom, Lisa, Foolery, Woolery, where are you from?
I live right in the middle in Kansas City.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is in the middle.
Yeah.
Barbecue, the Chiefs.
Well, I mean, I would gloat, but not after that Super Bowl. I actually left halfway through. I was just downstairs and went upstairs and read my book.
Okay, can I tell you guys it was my favorite Super Bowl of all time?
Why?
Because it was stress-free. Like, I was like, I don't have to be worried about it. It's clear what's happening here. Like, I can just enjoy all of it, and I don't have to be like, what's going to happen? Are they going to? No, I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
I was like, what in the even HE hockey stick is going on?
Yes. But also, I didn't care who won. And so, like, that, if my team would have been losing, I probably would have not liked it. But
Yeah.
Do you have a team, Anita?
well, my in-laws are from Philadelphia. Okay.
Eagles.
So, yeah. But here was the funny thing. We went and watched the Super Bowl with my in-laws, and my father-in-law, who's like grumpy old guy, halfway through, I was like, are you cheering for the Chiefs? I was so confused because he like grew up in Philadelphia. Like, he is a Philly person. And I was just confused. He appeared to be cheering for the Chiefs. I don't know if he was confused. I don't know if he's a turncoat. I don't know what. But no, I don't have a team. I don't care about any of that.
Like, the biggest thing in Kansas City for the last 2 years are Taylor Swift sightings at games and otherwise.
Right. Right.
That makes
Are
sense.
you a Swiftie?
Well, I like her music, actually. If you really listen to her music, I think it's really good for a widow. It's all like kind of dark breakup stuff that like we might relate to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Lisa, are you from Kansas City?
I am not. I actually lived in Southern California for 45 years.
Okay.
That's a big
This is-
change.
Yeah, we had changed for like a lifestyle change. I quit my corporate job and was going to stay home with the kids because they were getting to their formative middle school years. So we moved to my husband's hometown, and then the jerk died 8 months later.
I'm so thrown off, Lisa, because if you could see Lisa's background, she's in this like pink library space and there's a big window behind her and it looks like Dubai out the window. And so I'm like, Kansas City? That's not right.
It's very chic these days.
Yeah, I've never been there, but that's not what I picture it looking like. So.
Lisa, Let's get to the tomfoolery, or actually to maybe all the sad stuff first and then to some tomfoolery. So, what do you do for your life?
I I'm a writer.
Oh,
I just wrote a memoir, The Widow's Comeback, and I have a grief calendar that goes with it. I'm ghostwriting a book right now for a man. He was a mayor and a city manager in a California town. And I also do editing services, and I work for a best-selling author too. So I like do a lot of writing things.
Nice.
whoa.
Yeah.
Do people find you by word of mouth or do you have to promote your services?
Well, unless tomfoolery is involved, it's usually word of mouth. I get a lot of word of mouth. But
Nice.
I have on my Widow's Comeback page, I have a little random page that says editing services, just so I can have a link, you know.
Yeah. Remember the show Ghost Rider, Mel?
Was that like a teenager show, right? Or a
It was
child
like a
show?
kids show. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Lisa?
I
Do you
have
remember that
not,
show?
no.
Darn it. I was going to ask if it was accurate, but I'm pretty sure it's not because it was like an actual ghost
Yeah, I'm not a
writing.
ghost. I mean,
Uh,
I'm kind of pale right now because we've had a really hard winter,
yes.
but
What?
Dubai is not. The sun isn't out in Dubai,
No.
Kansas City.
A lot of widows want to write a book and
Mhm.
can't. Would you ghostwrite for them?
Absolutely. But probably what I would want to do is just coach them and
Mm,
teach them how to write a memoir. But I mean, I'm a full service writer provider. So whatever we wanted to do.
All right.
that's
That's
kind of
cool.
interesting. So tell us about your person, and who they were and how you met and all of your great backstory.
Okay. Well, his name was not Tom. Eric Woolery was amazing. And
Mm.
I'm just so glad that I get to say I had an absolutely wonderful love story. We met when I was 14 and he was 17. And our church had this special Angels baseball game. We lived in Orange, California, uh, to introduce like the eighth graders to the high schoolers. And so this is like a fun meet cute. He was gonna be a senior, so he was just like so cool. And then I was 14 and just like, I don't know, hyper. And so all the cool boys were sitting in the back of the rented bus, like on that long seat. And I just like skipped up and I saw all the cute boys and I just went back and I shimmied right in between
Oh,
two of them. And they were ignoring me, of course, because they were so cool. But Eric had a little hole in his jeans and he said he felt like a little tickle. And he looked down and I was tickling the little hole and like cheese, like with my braces. And then he fell madly in love immediately.
how did that work? That doesn't make any sense. That should not have worked.
It did. It hasn't worked since he died. Like, but it worked when I was 14.
It's just like sort of speechless. Like, I tickled the hole in his pants and he fell in love with me
With my braces.
with my
Yeah.
braces. Oh my goodness.
So we dated on and off, hung out in the same group, all the way through like while I was in high school. And he actually came back to be a counselor because he, went on to college and in the high school group. And my dad, he would come over and my dad would be like, "Oh, is Eric going to counsel you again?" And then we ended up getting married. My parents said I couldn't get married until I graduated from college. So I graduated from college on Sunday and got married the next Saturday.
Wow.
Whoa.
How old were you?
22.
Oh, okay. I'm still just imagining the 14-year-old and
Yeah, we're a little slow. I'm there
Yeah,
too.
things progressed, including our ages. So it was all legal. There was no tomfoolery involved.
Not yet.
perfect. And did you graduate in writing,
Liberal
English?
arts, liberal arts, with a elementary education. I taught for 4 years, but then I went into public relations, which was just perfect for me. I worked in like for 20 years in public relations. My last job was at Wells Fargo. I ran the Southern California division of the public relations department.
What did Eric
And
do?
Eric was a CPA And he was also a politician in Orange County, which is also one of the reasons why we left. He was kind of controversial, and there was a lot of angst and revenge,
Can
and
you tell us why he was
Is
controversial?
it a secret or is he tomfoolery? Eric tomfoolery?
he was actually calling politicians out on their tomfoolery. So he was a CPA, and so he was elected to the auditor controller of the county of Orange. And so that he was in charge of paying the bills. So he was looking at some of the bills that some of the supervisors were having the county pay, and he's like, we're not paying for this. And one was illegally taking a pension, and he said, we're not making these payments. And it was just a lot. And so there was a lot of like revenge from politicians, and there was like a lawsuit. My kids were named in it. It was all lies
What? How?
because the woman who filed the suit said that Eric hired people, or not hired, but he had people in his office, like daycaring them and taking them to events
Oh,
and that kind of thing, which
his
wasn't
children.
true. What?
His children. He
Yeah,
invited his
right.
children to his office, which is a dastardly
Well,
deed,
yeah.
indeed.
And it was, I didn't feel like our family was thriving. There was some things said on the playground to my son one day about his dad. And then a firestorm came through our neighborhood. I'm like, I'm out. Like, I'm done with California. So we moved here, and he continued to super commute. He would go to California every other week for 8 months. And then he died. And sometimes I hear, not so much anymore, but in the beginning, people would say the supervisors killed Eric Woolery because of all the stress.
But okay, now you have to tell us the details of what happened.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if he got murdered by somebody nefarious, but I feel like he
He
didn't.
did not.
Tell us the tale. What happened?
So he was going to retire to Kansas City. I'm not sure when, but he was going to at least finish his term out and maybe run again or maybe retire. I'm not sure. But he bought a small CPA practice. And so he had been working there. He had not been super committing. So he was in Kansas that day. And he came home around 4, and I had been sitting in my chair reading, and I heard him. And so I ran to the door and greeted him because I still loved him. And I used to do that every time he'd come home. And
And she
so
tickled
he
his
was,
leg with a hole in his pants.
and he was like glowing, and he looked so handsome. And he said, I had a great day. I can't wait to tell you everything. And he said, I've got to go do some calls. And so he went into his office, and I went and finished my chapter. And then I went and knocked on his door and said, I'm going to make dinner. And he's like, okay. So I went and was chopping broccoli. And then I put the broccoli into steam and was going to go tell him a joke because he thought I was funny. My joke was, you're going to fall asleep during dinner because it's broccoli. Because we had to acclimate to the Midwestern food. Like all our pants were getting too tight. So we were dieting. And so I realized as I was walking down the hall that I hadn't heard him talking. And so I thought he was just finishing emails. And I opened the door, and the first millisecond, I thought he was like leaned over, like fiddling with the internet wires or something. The second millisecond, I thought he was playing a joke because he was leaning really funny. Then the third millisecond, I realized that he was dead. And so I ran over and I picked up his phone and I called 911 and like screamed into it. I think my husband's dead. So he said, you have to get him on the floor and do chest compressions. And he's a foot taller than me and like had the biggest neck in the world. And like he's just big and I'm not. And I was like, I can't. And he said, well, you have to. So like I sort of just went on autopilot, and I like pushed him out of the chair and onto the ground and learned what dead weight means. And like turned him over and like was shouting the chest compressions. And then like, I don't know, 3 minutes later, the paramedics arrived.
Hey guys, just checking in and want to say if you are enjoying this podcast,
And you want to see it keep going, maybe it's helped you through your widowhood journey and you think that it might help others on their widowhood journey, you can support that cause by joining our Patreon.
Some of the things that you get as a Patreon beneficiary are ad-free episodes, so you don't have to hear ads like this.
You also get exclusive content, and at a certain level, you might also get an exclusive t-shirt you can only get that place.
That is true. It's pretty cool. There are 4 different tiers available, so check it out. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And as an extra bonus, very often you get your names read by one of my kids, and they will do a terrible job with the pronunciation. And that's like a bonus, I think.
I think it's kind of the best. I would much rather hear somebody butcher my name than say it correctly.
A child butcher it than an adult do it correctly. Yep. So go to patreon.com/WWDN to keep our podcast going and support the widowed cause.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
So not traumatic at all. Not a horrible experience. Pretty awesome, all in all.
Yeah, I still sometimes can't watch TV where they're doing chest compressions, or like they did this joke in my daughter's show choir concert where grandma got ran over by a reindeer, and like they were like doing chest compressions on her and everyone was laughing. This was just not too long ago, and he's been dead for 5.5 years, and I was like, just wanted to throw up. So I'm still a little traumatized by CPR.
Yeah, I can imagine that. It's interesting because in the medical dramas, when I watch them, I'm like, oh, that's fake. So it's not really like it doesn't usually bother me because it looks so ridiculous, but like real CPR is horrible.
That happened to us actually in San Diego in the airport. Somebody dropped down and then people were doing CPR and Anita and I were standing right there and Anita just froze. What was that, 4 years after Jason had died, I think, something like that.
I don't think it was that long. I think
Maybe
it
it
was
was
like
3.
2 or 3. I don't know, but yeah.
I always think about that when I watch medical shows, if that bothers people. Yeah. So for you, Lisa, if you're watching it scripted, does it bother you?
Like if I know it's
Like,
going to happen,
like
or...
on a TV,
Well,
yeah, if you're watching ER or something. Not that you're
Oh
watching
yeah,
that, but
I usually I just like cover my eyes. I'm at that point now. And if I'm watching with my daughter, she knows. So I'm just like, tell me when I can look again.
hmm. So were they able to ever resuscitate him to any degree, or it was
N
just over?
No, it was over. Like I knew that he
Hmm.
was dead because like his face was already like a little purple. What
Yeah.
do they call that? Petechial hemorrhage or whatever.
ooh,
That
yeah.
was, you pulled that out of
Good job. That's
the
also a
dictionary.
strangulation medical
I
term, which,
know. And
ew.
then my finances were frozen for 3 months because there was an investigation.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Back up just a second, though.
wait, did the broccoli kill him?
Oh, he didn't even get to eat the broccoli.
Ah,
And you want to know what's weird is I still love broccoli.
Hmm.
Like I don't
interesting.
associate that at all.
That is interesting. So, did they do an autopsy and figure out what had happened?
Yeah, although nobody ever said he had any heart issues and he had just had a physical, he had an enlarged heart. So one of his, I don't even know how to say it, veins was like lazy, like I don't know, lapsing, like it, and it couldn't like pump the heart couldn't pump back like the
Mm.
blood out.
Yeah,
And so it had gotten really big and then it just wasn't able to pump it anymore.
yeah.
But no, we had no idea.
So, okay, now you can tell us about this investigation and why there was an investigation. What does that mean?
I don't really know why there was an investigation. They just held his death certificate for 3 months because of the quote unquote investigation. But that just meant that I couldn't access any of my money. All of my bank accounts were frozen. And so I don't know. I don't know what the investigation was about. The police never came. And finally one day I just like lost it and I called up the coroner and I just like told her that her responsibility was for the people, like to keep the people of Johnson County safe. And I was in jeopardy of being foreclosed on because I couldn't access any of my money, which was a little tomfoolery, but you know. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "You'll have the death certificate by the end of the day." I'm like, "What?"
What? So they didn't tell you, like they didn't think that you had murdered him or that something untoward had happened. They just
Well,
froze all your assets.
well, yes. And like the police never came and my assets were frozen because I went to the bank and I said my husband died and then they froze all of my assets until I could produce the death certificate because
Oh,
our accounts were made in California, which has different banking laws than Kansas. And so they didn't understand that the money was like legally mine, that I was actually co-owner of the accounts.
Wow.
So the investigation, I don't know really what that was about. And I just wanted to move forward. And so since nobody ever came and questioned me, I don't know that they ever seriously thought I killed him.
So it didn't have to do with him calling a bit whistleblowing in California. That's
No.
so strange.
do you ever get like funny, I don't know, like conspiracies in your head though? Like you're like, what if they did kill him? Or what if he's
No.
actually in the mafia? What if he was an alien?
Oh, he's in witness protection now.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I don't. I don't know why. I just don't. I have a pretty good imagination, but I don't like to use it when it comes to Eric. I just kind of like to gloss over that.
Yeah, that's probably that's probably good. So, what year was it that he died?
He died in 2019.
Okay. So we're on the same timeline. And you had kids. You have kids.
I
How
have
old
kids.
were they when he died?
They were 10 and 12, and they were actually home, but they had just gone to a neighbor's house, like a new neighbor, to go swimming. I didn't even know the neighbor's name. And so, like, we have all these fire trucks and all this stuff in front of our house, and the deputy sheriff came and he's like, "Where are your kids?" And I'm like, "Well, go down the street, turn left at the end of the cul-de-sac on the left." Like, I don't even know their names. So he went and secured the kids and took them to my neighbor's house because I didn't want them to come home during all of that.
And how long had you guys been in Kansas City
Eight
total?
months.
Okay. So still fairly new.
Mhm.
Did you have any sort of support structure?
Well, I have the world's smallest family, but my very favorite family members, Uncle Larry and Aunt Chu, his half uncle and half cousin. It's a Missouri story. Um, and his Aunt Chu, who I love, they live 45 minutes away. They're retired firefighter paramedics, and they actually met me at the hospital. And they were wonderful. Every Sunday for a year, they came over to our house. And I used to call up Chu and talk to her for hours. They cruise now. They retired. So I don't get to see them as often, but my neighborhood, like what you hear about the Midwest, it is so Midwest nice. Like my neighborhood just helped us so much. They just wrap their arms around us and we're great.
Oh, man. I would think that would be really hard to have left kind of your whole family and kind of what you've known for what did you say, 45 years?
Yeah.
And then you're 8 months in a new place, and then your life just flips upside down again.
In a way it was, but in a way it was sort of like, how some widows want a fresh start?
Hmm.
So in a way, it was kind of like a fresh start, like a pre-start, because Eric was there long enough to, move all the heavy furniture to where I wanted it, teach me where all the good barbecue places were, and he was gone so much traveling that the house was really mine. Like I'd unpacked, I had done all the decorating, I'd done some painting, and so I feel like it was a new start.
Yeah.
So tell us how your first year or so post death went.
I bundled the kids up and sent them back to school. He died just like 9 days or something before Liam started middle school. So we actually went to California for the services and then we came back and then I bundled them up, sent them to school, and then I would spend the mornings with paperwork and all of that stuff. And then they'd come home and we'd just do our best. And then COVID happened. So I didn't even like, I was learning about something called Zoom and I was getting all these emails and it was just too much. So I just closed my computer and I put it in a drawer and put it away. And I'm like, we're doing Woolery Family School old style. Like we did, math. They learned how to write like the 5 paragraph essays. And then we actually did homeschool for 2 years.
Oh,
And it was really good for us. It was like really nice bonding. We read wonderful books and we took trips all over, even though it was COVID. And like Boston for history, we went to Mount Rushmore for essays. We went to a Caribbean island for 2 weeks where we brought home a dog and
that's quite the
all kinds.
souvenir.
Yes, very. Yeah.
Did you use chalkboards or slates and chalk? Or was
No,
it a
but
one room schoolhouse?
it was a It was a one like floor. We like our main floor was just homeschool decked out, but we did check out the Little House on the Prairie cookbook from the library and made some recipes from that.
I am just in awe of you because COVID for me was like, ah, like nobody's getting any education. I put the computer in the drawer and gave up. So I give you kudos for continuing your kids' education through that
Well,
whole situation
I
and
only
mess.
had I only have 2 kids,
Yeah, I
and they
wouldn't have
were a little
educated two of
older, I
them
think.
either. No,
Well, I was a teacher my first four
that's
years,
true. That's
and I
true.
was a middle school teacher, so I just moved right into that.
You knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
Um, how have your kids dealt with this whole
Well,
situation? What do you call it?
my son is in military school. He is doing so well. Like after 2 years of homeschool, I think he was depressed now, like looking back, like just as a grieving kind of thing and an adolescent kind of thing. And he needed more than I could give him. And I couldn't send him back to our local schools, even though they're like award-winning schools, because he would just con everyone and he wouldn't do his work. So I got a brochure where my Aunt Chu had sent her sons. And I said, this is your future unless you decide you want to start working together. And then I went on a trip to Mexico and I left it out on the counter hoping that he would like be scared and he wasn't. I got home and he still hadn't done any of his work. So we sent him there and that's been 3.5 years. And starting at the end of last year, he has just turned into the most remarkable person. He takes responsibility for his work and his actions. He never gets in trouble. He has a plan. He's going to go into the military and become a military chaplain. And he is just a wonderful kid.
How old is he now?
He's 17. He's a junior.
Do you have one son or two sons?
I have a son and a daughter, and my
Okay.
daughter is 16, and she is absolutely wonderful. She is like the best creature in the world.
Oh,
But I mean, we had to work through stuff. Like my son, like I said, he was depressed and apathetic, and a lot of people had opinions about me sending him to military school, but I just had to listen to my mom instinct and do what I thought was best for him because I felt like the window was closing on the opportunity for me to make sure that he had a good life.
hmm.
So off he went there, and then my daughter, she had a lot of anxiety. She wondered if her dad wouldn't have died if she would have been there. And we have this like lore in my family. Both of my kids were adopted from Russia. And we went back a second time.
She just dropped that
Wait,
like,
okay, that came from nowhere, yes.
Well, it pertains to this because we adopted Liam, and then my husband's like, let's go adopt another baby. I'm like, yeah, we're fine with Liam. And he's like, no, I need to get you a girl for when I die. Someone needs to take care of you. And so we would talk about that, of course, thinking I was going to be 90.
900 years old. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so my daughter like really internalized that, and it took me a while to figure out that she felt like she was responsible for me. So we had to, I talk about in my book, breathe in the cotton candy and breathe out the gross green gases, and like learn how to go spend the night with someone, or learn how to let me go and have fun, go on a date, go with friends, be apart. So that the poor little thing would just get like so shaky and just white, and she'd be like, I'm having anxiety. But we got through it, and she's a wonderful person as well. So now I think we're doing well. But, we were a hot mess for a while. Like, I'm sure everyone listening knows exactly where that is and what it's like.
Anita, I hear we have a store.
Oh, we sure do. We've actually had it for quite a while. It's called the Snarky Grief Shop, and it's where you will find all of our best grief merch. That is, yes, a little snarky. For instance, it's where you will find the official widow card that you can pull and use at your convenience.
You can put it in your wallet, and anytime you need to use it, pull it out, play the widow card.
Yeah, we have glow-in-the-dark stickers. We have shirts that say, "Be nice, my husband is dead." We also have the ones that are not quite as jarring, so that you can wear them out in public and not feel weird. But sometimes you need that shirt.
I wear my Be Nice, My Husband is Dead to bed because I'm a little scared to go in public with it. But you've worn it on airplanes before with your kids.
Yeah, every time we go to the airport, I wear that shirt because I'm just like, listen, I got to get all these kids through security. Just be nice to me. Thank you so much. And it's worked for the most part.
Some of the less snarky grief shirts are podcast shirts or Widow Wives Club. We also have Resilient AF, right, Anita? What else we got in there?
Yeah, which we're telling everybody who cares, like Mel's mom, that means American fork, because she can't know what it really means, guys.
Yeah.
Stickers and mugs and notebooks and just cool stuff that you can use to express your snarky grief. You'll find it by going to our website, shop.widowwedonow.com. There's a lot of W's in there, so just make sure that you've counted them and there's the right number.
We will link to that in the show notes, and it's also in our app, which you can get from the App Store. Can people get it from our regular website too?
Yes, if you go to widowwedonow.com, there's a link for the shop in there too.
Great. If you'd like to show your snark or have something a little more subtle, go ahead and check that out. Again, that's
shop.widowwedonow.com. Oh man. You've just mentioned that the dating situation. It sounds like you've had some fun experiences. You want to share some of those with
yeah.
us?
Is this the tomfoolery section?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let us have it.
So I'll start off by saying this. Some people get married and they're like a beautiful dinner of a steak and a lobster. But that's because they grew up and got married as adults. I mean, I was married as an adult too, but I was with Eric for so long. We were just the messiest casserole. And I had no idea who I was when Eric died. And I know that every marriage is a messy casserole and people don't know who they are, like when their mates die, but I had never been a individual person. Like when you're 14, you're really just maybe starting to become an individual. And then it was Eric Woolery, Eric. It was always Eric. And it wasn't even me. It wasn't even like, oh, let's invite Lisa. It's like Lisa and Eric. People would come to us and be like, we want the marriage you have. We want to be an Eric and Lisa. So he died, and I was like, oh my gosh, my life is broken. How am I going to fix it? Well, like my husband died, so I guess I need a new one. My friend told me the other day, she's like, I remember when you told me that you were going to go after getting another husband, like you went for promotions in corporate America. Like, yeah. So, I made myself available on online dating, and I would go out on sometimes 2 dates a night, sometimes four in a week. And but it's like one side of me was desperately looking for my new husband, and the other side of me was like, I'm not going out with him again. And like I barely ever went on a second date. So like my head was, like I had widow's fog. I couldn't figure it out. So yeah, I dated a lot. Probably the worst one peed in my daughter's dog's bowl that was out on the porch
What?
What?
when
What?
I
What?
broke
What?
up with him.
What?
Oh, okay.
Okay, you'd only been on one date?
Actually, I had been on 3 dates with him.
Okay, that's still not
And
breaking up with somebody. Three
I
dates is
know. I like just texted him and said, "Hey, I'm not interested anymore." And then he called, and then I was over at my friend's house and with my daughter, and so he didn't even know because I didn't give out my phone number. Well, I guess he did have my phone number. I didn't usually, but I never gave him my address. But he somehow found my address, and in the half an hour that he spent like unwinding, like coming unglued, tomfoolery, he came over to like found my house. I don't know why. Like he went to the backyard and to the back stoop where the dog bowl was. And then meanwhile, I'm over at my friend's house and we're just watching crazy unfold and laughing. And so I'm like, okay, it's time to come home. And we come home and go to step over the dog bowl and it's steaming.
oh, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
And
No.
so I bustled everyone on up to bed. I released the hounds out into the backyard, my Labradors and my Caribbean pot cake.
Did they pee on the pee? Because my dogs do that.
No, they just, because I got them all worked up. And then I opened the door and they just jumped right over it. And then I grabbed the bowl and I sniffed it and I'm like, oh my
Yeah, and that
God.
was a mistake.
And can I tell you, that's probably the only time the dog bowl has ever been in the dishwasher.
Okay, also, if you're gonna like use human excrement to get back at someone, you don't pee. You gotta do number two. That's
Well,
way
and
grosser.
why did he
No.
do it in the dog's bowl?
It was the only container he
Yeah,
could
he
find.
he kind of failed. Like he should put it on the porch. I mean, or make a poo dollar or something. He failed. He's just
Or
gross.
like light the poo on fire and doorbell ditch me or something,
Oh
but
my
like he's
goodness.
taking it out on the dog. But you guys might enjoy this. So the dogs were outside. I put on my bathrobe, put my hair in my sleeping bun. I called my aunt and uncle. My aunt's like, I'm sick of your shenanigans. I have to be at work at 6 a.m. Stop dating. And then so I put my gun in my pocket of my robe just in case I needed it. And then I went and like got in bed and was trying to calm down. And then I started to calm down. And then I remembered some tomfoolery that Eric Woolery had done. And that was he had gotten fired from a job. And then I had to go with him that night and he peed through the mail slot. And so then I started to really calm down and I'm like, okay, he's not going to come in and pee on me or something. And so, like, I'm safe. It was just like a man revenge thing. And so I put my gun away and went to bed.
You have a type, apparently.
That guy's behavior is kind of on brand for teenage behavior. You may
Yeah.
have been familiar with that as a teenager, even though it's a little scarier when it's an adult man. Ew.
Yeah. And when you're like, I don't know, you feel kind of vulnerable when you've got your kids and you're alone.
Yeah.
Do you have any other fantastic stories like that from wild dates gone wrong?
Most of them are like slight offenses. Like I was talking to this man one time and he's like, I love your hair. And I'm like, thank you. And he just got up from the table and came around and like started sniffing it.
Keep going. I love it. Keep going.
Yeah, you got
More,
how much more you got?
Well, I accidentally met a man at a bar and I dated him for a while. He was a trauma surgeon. Like it seemed so awesome. He was great though, actually. But after I broke up with him, then that's when I started all of my online dating. And the first date I went on from online, The guy, well, first of all, he wore flip-flops, so I can never unsee those toes. But he texted me later in the day and he's like, I really like you. I want to proceed seriously with this. I don't date casually, so if you don't have any intention of marrying me, let me know right away. And I'm like, what's your last name again? Like, yeah. So it was just like, I don't know, it's a lot of weirdness.
Did you at some point in time say, okay, whoa, hold my horses. I got to figure some stuff out? Or did you just keep dating through it and keep figuring it out as you went?
Yeah, hey guys, I gotta go. I got a date. No,
Bye.
I figured it out. I mean, like it was sort of dating frenzy and it was all part of I think my healing. I don't know, or just I mean, I'm not gonna call it a mistake because I don't know, it kept me busy, it kept me active, and I just missed being loved. But then I realized that none of these people were loving me. And so I now only date people I meet in the wild. My favorite fertile hunting ground is pickleball.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Smells
that's a
But
like
good
me. I
one.
love pickleball.
yeah, yeah. So, and I don't date much. Like I dated a guy over the summer and we broke up and I haven't dated since. And I'm happy with that. Like I had to get to the point in my life where I had to realize that somebody wasn't going to fix my problem. I needed to fix my own self. And so I did, and I feel like I might not even date this whole year. And it's like the year of my career because I've just been doing all kinds of really good writing. And of course, everybody tells me that's when I'm going to meet him. But I'm kind of just like if I don't have a husband, a second husband, I'm okay because I had Eric Woolery and that was great. So I'm not sad. I don't yearn for it and I'm just fine.
You mentioned this at the beginning. There's a book and a calendar. Will you tell us about those things?
Yeah. So my book is called The Widow's Comeback and it's about the first 2 years after Eric died. And I wrote it in a way that I wrote about like all my worst moments because I wanted other widows to know that it's okay to have your worst moments because I wanted a mentor so bad, but I couldn't find any widows that were my age or that had kids. And so I just want widows to know that, like, look at the shit. Oh, sorry. Look at what I went through, and you're going to be just fine. So, so that's my memoir. And then I also did a 365-day grief calendar where I have a little ministry called The Widow's Comeback. And so I have a newsletter, and every month I talk about planning, like planning. So I'm like sort of along that for healing. So the grief calendar teaches you how to plan for the big landmine days. And then there's also some grief exercises in there as well. So my newsletter would talk about like what are some ideas for Valentine's Day or let's make an escape route for Thanksgiving and like these kinds of things. So I just feel like I want to help widows in the beginning when they're like what just happened and so maybe some of the things I learned I can pass on.
I like especially hearing about the escape route for Thanksgiving
Yeah.
because that's so true. It's like we get in these situations where it's like they're just regular situations like holidays, but then, and those actually can be pretty emotionally charged even without a death. But
Yeah.
then with the death, it's like you're at lower capacity, you might have triggers, there might be extra expectations from other people. So I love that. So tell us where we can find that and where our listeners can find that.
Will be released on April 11th and so it'll be on Amazon and then you can always find me at thewidowscomeback.com where I'll talk about it and I'll have links and that kind of thing.
Is
Awesome.
the Widow's Comeback a regional thing? Is it something you do over the internet? Like who can get involved in that?
Anybody can. It's my newsletter, and then I do a live prayer every Monday morning for widows, and then I do like some live teaching. Sometimes it's about, a holiday. Like this month in March I talked about like making some small changes in your house and how empowering that can be. And so I did some like here I am in my new living room. Not this pink one,
The fake
not
one.
my background, but um so it's all like basically online.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't have like widows meetings
Okay.
at the church or something.
That's very cool. Is it sounds like it's geared for people more in the early stages of widowhood. Does that sound accurate?
Well, I'm thinking probably for people up until like 3 or 5 years. I mean, everyone sort of widows in their own time, but if you're still feeling like you need ideas for the month and how to handle Valentine's Day or, that kind of thing, then, come on over and that's what we talk about. But if you're
Fantastic.
kind of beyond it, then I mean, you might like my book because you'll definitely laugh at me. I had a widow read it the other day, and she's like, I cried and then I laughed and then I laughed so hard I cried again. So like I made it really funny, like all the mistakes and stuff that I made. I tried to make it funny so we could laugh about it.
Is it on Audible as well?
It is not. I am actually about to leave for a long trip, and when I get back, I'm going to record it. So it'll be maybe over the summer. I'm not
Where are
sure.
you going for your trip?
Well, I was invited to be a writer's in residence in a chateau in France.
Okay, that sounds like a James Bond situation. Are you sure that's where you're going? You're just gonna go be a Bond girl somewhere.
And I'm going
It's...
to write my first romance.
I love
Ooh,
it.
will it involve a widow?
Yes, it does.
Oh, oh,
A
okay.
widow and a trauma surgeon, and will somebody pee in the dog bowl?
Yes.
Absolutely.
There will be no trauma surgeon and there will be no pee.
Okay.
That's probably for the best.
But there's going to be a dog.
Oh, good. Dogs are great. We need more dogs.
She doesn't have the love affair with the dog, but the dog does bring everyone together.
That's
So y-
also for the best.
Oh my
Is
goodness.
wait, is one of the characters going to be named Tom?
Actually, maybe that's a good name. But he's French, so it'll have to be like,
Thomas.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, if you end up naming him Tom, I just want you to always think of Mel
Hmm.
whenever
Okay.
you do anything.
Okay, everybody, we will link to Lisa's website in the show notes, so stay tuned if it's before April 11th. And if it's after April 11th and you're listening to this, go get it. Check it
Ab-
out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing your story.
You're
And
welcome. Thanks for inviting me on. I
absolutely.
just want to say real quick that you guys are like the most famous widows.
We're not.
Can you get us to go to the chateau
We'd
somewhere?
like to go to the chateau.
We'd like to say we're podcasting in a chateau, but Anita will ride her mountain bike and I'll skateboard. Can you get us in?
I actually discovered you guys about 2 years in, and I binged all of them because of that mentor that I said I was looking for. It's like I had a new mentor every week. So I very much
Oh,
appreciate what you guys do. Thank you.
oh,
That's
thank you.
fantastic.
And thank
And
you to all of your mentors who were previous guests. And you're going to be mentoring somebody else by this episode.
I hope so.
that's fantastic. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening today. If you would like to keep the podcast going, will you? Oh, she had something to say. Go ahead. Sorry. Did we forget
Yes.
something?
Cheese.
Oh, Mel.
Duh.
Thank you.
Okay, Lisa. Thank you for
Mm-hmm.
reminding us. What's your favorite cheese?
Ghee toast.
What?
That sounds like something you eat in the chateau.
Yep. With Thomas.
It is Scandinavian and it tastes like caramel. It's
Ooh,
so delicious.
I would like to try that.
I've been waiting like 3 years to tell you guys about
And
it.
then we almost forgot.
Yeah, and you've listened to all of them, so you know that nobody has said that cheese.
Everyone's like cheddar and Gouda. I'm like, well, that's good, but nobody likes ghee toast.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
I've never
Smoked
heard of
Gouda
it.
is definitely number one. I think Brie is number two,
Pepper Jack gets a lot of love.
probably number three.
Cheddar gets a lot of love.
Way to
So,
be unique. Good job.
Thank
yes.
you.
Okay, now we can. I'm so thankful that you stopped
Yes,
us.
thank you.
That could have been a tragedy. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you'd like to keep the podcast going, will you check out our Patreon? It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you'd like to buy us tacos, go to buymeacoffee.com/widow we do now.
And we always like a nice rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And make sure you go check out Lisa's website, her book, and her planner, her grief planner. And until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
And I'm Lisa.
We're just two young widows and one widow who's definitely involved in tomfoolery. And we are all just trying to figure out, widow,
We
do
Now.
yes. Mel,
Yeah,
we have a major announcement to make.
go for it.
Did you know that right now all plans on Mint Mobile are what?
$15 a month.
Okay, that's truly ridiculous. Do you know how much regular cell phones are?
Yep.
$1 bazillion a month. 15 is less than that.
New customers get 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month if you sign up right now. And guess what? I use it. I love it. I've used it all over the country, all over the world, and it's great. And if you're wondering about phones, they have those available as well, or you can just port your own number and your current phone over to Mint Mobile. They make it so easy.
So if people are interested in trying out Mint Mobile, how can they go about doing that?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. And you know what's interesting? When my dad died, we actually put his phone on a Mint Mobile plan because it kept his number going, but it was $15 a month. So there you go. And there's different storage plans, but you might as well just get the unlimited because it's $15 a month.
Absolutely. All right, go try it today.
That's trymintmobile.com/WWDN.